Hello everybody, welcome to Untethered.tv. I'm your host, Rob Woodbridge. Obviously this is the place you have come to for a couple of years now at least, to find out what is happening in the mobile space, to talk to some of the entrepreneurs, those crazy minds that are building the things that we don't even know that we need, but when we get our hands on them and wrap ourselves around them, we know we can never let them go, just like your smartphone, just like the mobile device, just like your iPad. Today, we're going to talk about this thing, this craze. I don't know what it is. All of a sudden, we get a bunching of applications that come out around the same space, each with a different take on it, each with a very unique take on it. I'm talking about these social applications, these social relationship applications that leverage your location and your social graph to bring people who are nearby into it, to start dialogue, start conversations, see how many degrees away you are from there, what your commonalities are. It's very cool. This stuff is pretty incredible. The impact of it is we're just not even feeling yet. We're just getting at the beginning of this. So, this is a massive, massive opportunity, and I am very excited, as always, to bring this to you guys. And I'm joined today by Alberto Tretti. Alberto, did I do that right?
Alberto Tretti.
Alberto Tretti, who is the co-founder of a company called Glancee at Glancee.com. That's two E's at the end. And what Glancee does, well, you know what? I'm not even going to try to explain it. I'm just going to give it a synopsis of what this industry is. Alberto, why don't you talk about what a Glancee is?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Glancee is very simple. Glancee is a mobile app that lets you meet new people that have something in common with you. And this thing in common could be common friends, it could be similar interests, or maybe somebody that went to the same school with you or works in the same workplace. And we give you this easy way to know wherever you are, to know who are the other Glancee users near you, and give you a way to connect with them and start a chat and start a conversation with these people.
So it really, really, really is about creating relationships from your social graph, ultimately, is what it comes down to, isn't it?
So it all starts from your social graph, in a sense that you don't create a Glancee profile, but you simply import all the information you have on other networks. Right now, we are focused on Facebook. But then it's about really what's right outside of your social network. So not about really your friends, but with the people that may be your friends next, but they're not within your social graph yet.
I love that, because it's kind of like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, that game that that's it.
Absolutely. This is we're really kind of trying to reduce these 6 degrees to a much lower number, I believe, and technology is amazing for that.
It really is, and I mean, I played around with Glancee. I love it. I have the advantage or the disadvantage of being in Ottawa, Canada. I know that you guys are based in San Francisco. You're now in Chicago, but I have the advantage of it because there are very few people that are on it, so I can test these things without kind of exposing my entire social network or getting engaged in it completely. But even just typically when I launch a social application, I will get maybe 1 or sometimes 0 people in my city that are engaged in this. It's a small capital town. But when I launch this, that's what's great about it, is it leverages Facebook, and people within my radius, all of a sudden people started popping up, populating the people that I don't even know, but it shows that where the ties are between myself and that person. We have this in common. We live in the same city. We have a few friends in common. And the goal here is just to spark that kind of conversation. This is really, really, really about creating a different way of building relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing is that you don't see just all Glancee users that are around you, but we show you only the people that we think you may be interested in talking to.
Right.
So you only see people that have something in common, and sometimes it's a strong connection, like a mutual friend, or sometimes it's maybe a less strong connection, like this guy is in technology like you, so if you're in a coffee shop and you're bored, you can strike a conversation with them. And sometimes people use other signals, like you can write a little bio about yourself, so maybe you can tell what work you do. And we've seen people that use this information as a way to start building business connections. So let's say you want to talk to the CEO of a certain company, and you find that person on Glancee, and that's a great way to really kind of like make yourself available and say, hey, do you want to talk to me if you have time? It's not very invasive. It's very simple.
All right, I have to ask. I mean, what was it that attracted you to this space? Why get into this? Why try to reshape the way that we meet people through mobile? What did you? I mean, where was the?
Yeah. Well, when we started Glancee, it was a year and a half ago, and what you see now as being a hot trend of these social discovery apps, it didn't exist at all. So basically, we didn't have any way to know who was around us as we go through, as we go about our day. So we had this idea that it would be really cool if you could just plug your phone and have information about what is surrounding you, not just like Yelp that is about venues and places, but also about the people that are around you. And I'm foreigner, and also my co-founders are foreigners, so we really experienced the pain of going into a new city, a new university, and having to really rebuild your whole social graph. And there is really no easy way other than just go to events and start talking to as many people as you can. But sometimes you get stuck in conversations with boring people, and where maybe next to them there is somebody extremely interesting that you don't even talk to because maybe you don't have the chance to do that. But so we wanted to create this tool that is like an augmented reality device that tells you, hey, look, that person, you could have a good conversation because of this. That person, is a friend of your girlfriend. And so it gives you sort of an icebreaker to meet the interesting people that are near you.
What do you think? Like when you looked out at the market, were there weren't very many applications at all that were doing this. I can think of a couple that were kind of in the serendipity business, I would say, right? Like last year I was I went to a San Francisco Giants game, in fact, I used an application that allowed me to see who else was there, and then I could reach out through a direct message on Twitter or an email saying, hey, listen, we have this person in common, do you mind if do you want to reach out? But I never used that service because I felt it was too invasive. But when you looked out in the marketplace, there was a few of these things percolating, maybe some ideas at the time. Obviously there was something lacking in this, and that's why you jumped in?
Yeah, actually, I think you were referring to Sonar, probably.
Yep. Sonar is what I was using.
Yeah, Sonar is one of the first that came out and kind of beat us to market. But I think they were able, they came out very soon because so they were solving the same problem, but with a different approach from us. They were relying on people checking into venues, whereas what I think is really revolutionary about this wave of new apps is that they use background location to do all this magic. So basically, you don't have to open the app and check into a place, and then you see everything is done with your app in your pocket. So you can either pull out the app and know who's around you, but also you can leave it in your pocket, and the app tells you when there's somebody interesting around you. So that's why there is a serendipity part. It's about you're not even looking for new people. It's just that your phone pings you and tells you, hey, this cool person is nearby, and if you want to talk, you talk. If you don't, you just put your phone back in your pocket. So your question was why we decided to go into this market. So we think that there is a great opportunity into this market. It's really we really believe that there's going to be a change in behavior that these technologies are allowing to happen, and maybe it's not going to be this year, maybe it's next year, but it's definitely going to happen because the technology is there to do it, and people motives to do it are there. People want to know who's around them. People want to meet new people. So we really believe in space and in the problem it's trying to solve, and we think it's just a matter of who's going to be able to win the space. And so we wanted to place ourselves in the best position to do that.
I want to understand your background here because I'm intrigued always when you came to the United States. How long ago? 6 years ago?
It was about 6 years ago, yes. And I came through an exchange program to study computer science.
So, was it always your ambition to go out and start a company, be an entrepreneur?
Actually, no. It just happened that I was roommate with another Italian friend of mine that I've known for a long time, and he's really a great CEO. He has really the entrepreneur vision, and he asked me one day we were working on our PhD thesis, and he asked me whether I wanted to start a company, and he gave me the sort of a pitch of this. A blurb of what the Glancee would have been in the future, and I really liked it, and so I said, "Why not?" So it came serendipitously, you will say.
It's all about relationships, isn't it? That's the whole key here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So when did you start Glancee?
So we started, as I said, about a year and a half ago. At the beginning, we were playing with the idea. It was a little bit different.
What was that idea?
So the idea was much more complicated, actually, and then we had to simplify because we realized we couldn't build such a complex system. But it was about both places and people. So basically, we wanted to give you a possibility of walking down the street and not only knowing what bars or what restaurants around you, but who is inside those places. So Yelp, for example, gives you a review based on on the food that is there. But we wanted to give kind of like a review based on the people. So if you go to a bar, it's because you want to probably meet new people. So you want to make sure that the people are your same age. There are people that you may want, they may be interesting for you. Then we realized that to do this, we had to rely on check-ins, and we really didn't like this idea of check-ins. We thought that it was never going to work if people actually had to take out their phones every time. And so we moved more, we tried a check-in-less process, but it was really tough to pinpoint people in exact places, especially in dense cities where the GPS doesn't always work very well. And so we decided to focus our efforts more on just the people discovery. So it doesn't matter if they are in a bar or the other. They are close to you, so you can still strike a conversation even if they are 5 minutes away from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the check-in economy was was a flash, and then it's dissipated, and it's the data that's the most important thing. So location and I think your social influence, the people that are around you, and that daisy chain of people that you do know. So you started that about a year and a half ago, and that was so you simplified it. Was that a difficult process to actually go through that, to simplify your idea?
It was more than difficult. It was a long process because before you realize that you have to simplify, we have to go through a process of sitting down, designing the product, creating mock-ups, and actually while you start using it and testing it, you realize that things don't work, and so you kind of have to throw away, a month of work or 2 months of work and kind of rebuild with a new objective in mind. So it took us many months before actually we released the very first version of Glancee, and that was in June 2011, and so almost a year ago. And we launched at Full Camp, Friends of O'Reilly conference, and so that was the very first version of Glancee. And now after that, we iterated about 2 or 3 times, and then you see how Glancee evolved into what is now
the real product. Well, how did you decide what features should stay or should not stay in the product? Because if any of you out there have used the product, which I would strongly suggest you go and take a look at it, you'll notice very quickly that it is so simple, right? The UI is so simple. Because it's through Facebook, you connect with Facebook, and then you go in. But even the little, when you download it, you'll get 4 or 5 screens sliding why you should connect with Facebook and what the app is about. But once you get into the app, it's simple, right? So how did you decide what features would stay?
Yeah. So when we started, when we started, our app had a lot of different features, and the UI also was more complicated, was more cumbersome, and kind of people had to choose what they wanted to do. And we realized quickly that that for a new product to break through, this is not the right approach. That's an approach that can work for a Facebook app, for a LinkedIn app, where people already know what they can do with the app, and they just go, they use the app, and then they choose what they want to do because they already have in mind their objective. But if you're creating a new product, like Instagram, for example, you have to kind of give a reason for people to open in your app. You know, they have only so many apps on their phones, and you want to make sure that whenever they try to do something, they go to your app because they know that your app is doing one thing and is doing it right. So when we decided that we were going to focus on people and who's around you, we redesigned the whole UI to reflect that. It's like the first thing that you can do when you open Glancee is really to see the people that are around you. You don't have to click on tabs or icons. That's just the first thing you see. So we designed the whole experience on this idea that Glancee needs to solve one problem, has to do it right.
Well, I was just pulling up some of the screenshots from that you have of Glancee, so that people get a good example. If you're not watching this, go and download the application. But you're right. You know, the simplicity of this. Did it take a long time? I know I'm driving into this, but did it take a long time for you to decide what was on that front page, or was it a logical process that you said, well, of course. I mean, why are people interested in this app? Well, you know, we've buzzed them to tell them that somebody's around them. And what should that first screen really be, which is but the people around you, right?
Yeah, well, it didn't. I mean, once we realized that we wanted to, that was going to be the focus of the app, it was an easy decision to pick the list of people as the first thing to see. I think that what we spent most time on was actually designing how this list of people should look like. How, not only graphically, but also like how we're going to order the people in this list. Is it going to be by distance? Is it going to be by relevance? Maybe putting on top the people that are most interesting to you. And we went through several iterations in which we were even trying a mixed approach, in which we were showing you people divided by distance, but within each distance segment, the most relevant first. We really understand that we realize that the users want simplicity. They want something that they really understand immediately. And so right now, Glancee just shows you people ordered by distance. But then also, you have these cards right now with the name and the pictures of these people. Also there, what type of information are you going to show? Is it going to be the name? Is it going to be the full name? Or is it going to be just the first name? Are you going to show how many things you have in common? Is that going to be divided by friends and interest, or is it going to be just one score that tells you, oh, this person is great for you? So there is a lot of design choices that we had to make, and it's still an ongoing process, of course. And that, yes, I agree, it does take a long time and lots of iterations, a lot of time, talking to our users, understanding what happens and what doesn't.
Well, it's very simple, and I was pulling up a few screenshots. Is that in the examples that we've got, and even with me, it shows how you're connected and the distance with which they are standing from you, and I think that it's a very interesting play. But I love the fact that you kind of thought out here, said, listen, we're going to create an equation here that kind of will grade or rate the people based on all these little factors, and then you just kind of came down to, well, look, man, it's got to be simple. People got to understand this, is that there's got to be a reason, and the first thing that you do is distance. Second thing that you do is connections, and I think that that's a really, really, really simple. But people sometimes don't understand how hard it is to get something to be this easy.
Yeah, it's true, especially when you put together a team of people working on a problem, they're gonna start generating thousands of ideas. And they all one seems cooler than the other one. And then basically you have to sit down and decide, okay, now let's stop and actually make a decision, and let's choose what's actually going to work. So the biggest problem is not really the generation of ideas, but is filtering the good ideas and making sure that they're feasible and that they're going to work on the hands of the users. That's probably the most difficult part in the designing the whole product, yeah.
Do you have an example of something that you thought that was so great that you thought there's no way that we can get rid of this in the product. There's no way that it can work without this in the product, and then you kind of wake up one day and think, well, that's never going to work in the product. Why is that there? We got to get rid of it. Have you had those internal conversations as you're battling this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of difficult to think of one exact thing right now, but you don't have the screenshots of the old mock-ups, but really, as we were designing the people list, as we call it internally, so the list of people around you, at the beginning, it was really, really crowded. We had like 4 or 5 different icons. One was telling you how many friends in common, one was telling you how many interests, one was telling you whether you went to the same school, so kind of like giving you a lot of different signals. And we thought that people wanted all this information, but then we realized that people, they're not taking 1 minute for each person in the list. They're browsing the whole list in 3 seconds. Right. So they wanted something extremely quick and fast to browse the whole list.
I mean, I'm always fascinated by this because the decisions that we make on what goes into a product are, or what doesn't go into a product, are often more important than the decisions that do go in. Or the features that go in. So that's why I ask these questions quite a bit, is that I'm so interested, I'm so intrigued by simplicity and the development of simplicity in a product like this. Because what you're essentially doing is you're exposing the user to people that are around them, and you have to do that in a way that makes them feel comfortable, that makes them feel, this isn't a word, but uncreepy, right? Like that's what the UI has to evoke, is this comfort level, and I think that you guys have done that. And on that, what were you influenced by? What kind of UI, what kind of companies and design were you influenced by when you look at this and you think, wow, man, that is beautiful? Like, you have a stack of apps on your devices. What has it been that you
Yeah, I'm not a designer, and we're all technical co-founders. So we had this problem of how do we design an app if we don't have a designer? So we really spend a lot of time trying other apps and really picking the designs that are best, that we really, really liked, and then picking the elements that we thought were best for Glancee. So we definitely took a lot of inspirations from Gowalla, for example, or from Path, and then we added a little bit of our own taste to it. It's interesting you mentioned the creepy factor, because that's definitely a huge problem, and we spend a lot of time trying to create an app that can be used for dating, but its purpose is not dating. We really wanted to create a general purpose app that could be used for dating when you go out in a club, for business when you're at a conference, or just for meeting new friends when you are in a coffee shop. And so before, when we were exploring the space a year and a half ago, there were other apps that let you see kind of who's around you, but they were not with background location, and they were dating apps. So they were really apps in which it's basically just a transposition of the dating website on a mobile factor. And so we realized that if we created a product that looked like those apps, people will not join it because they will immediately tag Glancee as something creepy dating that I don't want to be doing. Not saying that all dating websites are like that. The ones we saw then were mostly like that. Like I didn't want to join those apps. And so we really, when we started with the design, we started like from scratch. We really said, okay, we need something new, and so we sat down and designed that.
You've opened up a really interesting question here. How is it that you are balancing that kind of the social aspect? Because I know you've got a business or like an event piece as well, where maybe that's a revenue stream. We'll talk about that in a second. But how are you balancing that social side with the professional side? And is that a challenge? Do you think you're taking on too much when you're trying to do social, like socializing, and business?
So it's definitely a problem because everybody, when you are an entrepreneur and you're trying to design a new project, everybody's always telling you have to focus, And so when your answer is, well, we're really doing something general that the users will figure out the best way they want to use it, kind of it is a problem. But yeah, I think we were pretty successful. Like we designed a product that feels the people feel comfortable using, and we received a great feedback from business people saying, "Oh, this is great for my business. Oh, I just made a new connection with a new partner." So I think we were able to strike a good balance by kind of creating a feeling that is really an app for a general purpose.
There is really about being non-prescriptive, right? You don't want to tell your users what it is that they should be using your application for. You got to give them a kind of an idea of what it should be doing and how to use it. But it's that you're letting a thousand flowers bloom, where you see where it leads. And so are your customers, are your users telling you where you should be investing your efforts now?
Yes and no. We definitely listen to the feedbacks we get, and we try to understand from the way the app is used what are the scenarios that work best. But there is something really, really difficult in what we are trying to do, which is really creating a new behavior that the people are not accustomed to. People are not really accustomed to looking at a phone and having information about the people around them, and then using this app to actually connect with these people. So whenever you're trying to, create these new behaviors, you cannot really rely too much on people's feedback, because they maybe don't even know what they want yet. You're kind of like feeding them. That's what Apple does a lot with their products. They don't necessarily listen what people say they think is best. They just kind of guide. They say, okay, we think it's best because of this, and then here it is. Use it and tell me if you love it.
And do you think that you can do something like that? Do you think that because this is such a new space, you have to lead, don't you?
Absolutely, yes. Even just putting this product in the hands of thousands of people is leading the way, in the sense that this is something that didn't exist before, and all of a sudden people are creating new connections in this new way.
So you've got 25,000 users right now plus. You have any examples of some of the things that have happened as a result, like serendipity that has happened, that somebody sent you, like, I met my wife, I met my husband, I met my business partner?
Well, we didn't get messages as in I met my wife yet. I think that's Glancee so far, has been used by mostly people in the tech crowd, kind of like the tech bubble that reads all tech blogs, and especially because we had such a great success at South by Southwest. But I can give you a few examples. Actually, Andrea, our CEO, went to South by Southwest, and he decided to go there just a week before the conference started. And he didn't have all hotels were booked, and he didn't have a place to stay. And he actually found the co-founder of another startup in San Francisco that he ended up meeting and for a coffee, and then this guy was from Austin and offered him a place to stay at his house.
I love that.
Yeah, that was pretty random. And then we got other feedbacks of other people meeting mostly for business, saying, "Oh, I met this really great guy that is doing something similar," and just sending a message. And people what is really interesting is that people in real life are always scared to talk to strangers, because they feel like they're breaking this bubble that other people are surrounded by, but they don't realize that. If somebody comes to you and asks you something, you're very welcome to them. You respond to them. You don't just say, "Oh, no, I don't know you."
Please,
and so Glancee is
kind
of
a...
yeah. people don't do that. People are really happy to talk to strangers, and then of course if there is a reason. And so if you get a message from somebody that looks interesting, you're going to reply. You're going to be happy of the new connection.
All right, I do have to ask about around the act that you guys go through about creating this serendipity. It's very interesting. But usually there's a bunch of influencers that kick in here, right? So, when you look out at the technorati that use this, the technology kings, is there anybody that you thought that they got their hands on it, they said that they're using it, you were a big fan of, that you said, wow, I can't believe that person's using our product? Like, was it Robert Scoble, or was it like Gary Vaynerchuk that said, I can't believe we've hit it because he's using our product?
Well, it was definitely a happy moment when Robert Scoble not only installed our app but actually interviewed us. That's kind of what sparked all the interest that we had at South by Southwest.
I mean, you talk about anybody. Scoble is a guy that when he gets behind you, he did this with Local Mind last year, at the South by Southwest last year, where he said, like, when he makes a recommend, he's such an influencer that it just kind of, you might not be anybody until Scoble gets his hands on you, and then you get on this trajectory, don't you? That is just pretty stellar.
Yeah, that's actually what happened to us. It's not just a Scoble, of course. It's a whole ecosystem of news media, news outlets, and opinionators like Scoble. And until you get into their radar, it's extremely difficult for anyone really to notice you. And that's actually what we had to struggle for many months, because, as I said, we launched back in June of last year. And before South by Southwest, we probably had around 2,000 users. And then, in less than a month, we multiplied by 10 our user base. So
let me ask you. Let me ask you.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that you managed to get in front of Scoble, get in front of the technology blogs and the blogosphere? What did you do?
Well, you can call it chance. I call it persistence.
Serendipity, maybe, perhaps?
I call it persistence. We've been trying for months, literally months. It was really hard. We were based in Chicago. We moved to San Francisco to really be in Silicon Valley. And then it just happened that our main competitor right now, which is Highlight, came out around January, February. And he got a lot of press, and people start saying, "Oh, look at this new type of app. It's a market that didn't exist before." And so we were able at that point to say, "Hey, there is us and another 10 startups that are doing exactly the same thing, and nobody ever talks about us." And that was the way we were able to get a hook. Basically, the space immediately, all of a sudden, became hot, and so we were perfectly positioned to be in the space as a leader in this hot space.
That's what I always say. Like, you don't really want to be first, and you don't want to be the only one, because you certainly want that kind of market on both sides of the hemisphere, so to speak. So you do want somebody like Highlight to be able to be saying the same thing as you, to validate what you're doing, but also to help market this industry, to drive attention, don't you?
Yeah, it's difficult if you're by yourself and you don't have the connections. It's really difficult, absolutely. And it's true what you say, that you shouldn't feel bad if there are all competitors coming up, because it's actually a validation of what you're building actually makes sense and people see the value in it. Then the important thing is to be the best, and so maybe not the first, but to be the best, the one that understands how the users are going to use your product and why they should pick your product instead of the other ones.
Well, I often get that question, is around how do I get in front of, not me personally, But how does an entrepreneur or a new startup get in front of somebody who can influence? And we've heard of the TechCrunch effect, we've heard of the Mashable effect, we've heard of the Dig effect, we've heard of the Y Combinator effect, but typically what we'll see is accelerant registrations, and then as almost as quickly, like a little blip, right, a little heartbeat, where you hit the peak in one day, and then of registrations, and then you start to taper off, and it's that trough of despair that follows. Is that for you guys? You start before South by Southwest, which is recent. You have 2,000 users. You have over 25,000 now. Have you seen a slowdown, or is there just a new normal now for you that's very good, that you're happy with?
Well, we definitely seen a slowdown because what happened is that at these events like South by Southwest, there is a very specific crowd that gets interested. That the audience is only of one type, and so once this audience saturates the market, basically when all of these people install your app, then you have to make sure that either they talk to other people that are not in the same industry, or somehow other medias pick it up and start talking about you that is outside the tech sphere. So there's definitely, I think it's normal that there is a slowdown, but so the next struggle, it's how do you keep registrations to still be good after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like postpartum. You get depressed, right, because you had that success. But what I like about what you've done, Alberto, is that you didn't build the product for South by Southwest. You accelerated into South by Southwest and leveraged South by Southwest as the way that you exploded on the scene, and I like that. A lot of companies build towards South by Southwest, and then the next day it's like, well, now what do we do? You realize that it's not about it's not about the launch. It's what's beyond the launch, and I really like that lesson here. It's very, very, very important. Now it's a challenge for you to go and see, okay, how do I keep this going? How do we get into the mainstream media? How do we get more press now that Scobel and TechCrunch have covered us, and Mashable? Now we have to get into the more mainstream, average user getting involved, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't have an answer to that, and if I had, there will be a secret sauce that I will not tell everyone.
Good. All right, I want to jump. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add one thing. There is this trend that you say of companies that want to launch at South by Southwest, but it's true. It's not necessarily a good thing, because launching exactly for that event where you're gonna get so much visibility, if you get the visibility, which is not guaranteed, it's going to be tough. It's better to get there prepared. It's better to make sure that you've done enough testing, that the app has been used enough in the months before, so that by the time you arrive to the big hit, to a huge event, you're not going to fail miserably.
All right. Good advice. It's very good advice, because if you're riding on one event, you're basing it all on that one event, and you don't hit where you want to hit with that one event, that's kind of depressing.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the impact of what you guys are doing, because I think that, as you said earlier on, you're creating behavior, you're changing people's behavior in the way that they create relationships or they extend relationships. So what do you see as the future here? How do you think that we're just at the beginning, and it's very difficult to predict this, but you're on this, you chose this path, you chose to do this, so you must see a long-term thing where, relationships are formed. How, or what do you think that Glancee looks like, or does, or is known for in building relationships going forward? Where's this industry going?
Well, I think people discovery is just really the beginning. So we're trying to change the way people meet and interact with each other, but it doesn't necessarily have to be an interaction between people. It can be also between people and services, people and brands, and so I think if you take a step back and you kind of see the big picture, we're really trying to bridge the gap between your physical world, that is like where you go about your day, and all these and your digital profile that lays on the internet. So your digital profile that you took time to build on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and so by using mobile devices, you can really bridge this gap and say and use all this digital information connected to the fact that you are in a certain place at a certain time. So we think that there is a great opportunity in this space, and so you can start with people discovery, and then it can lead to people connecting to their bank, connecting to a grocery store whenever they walk in. They can have personalized experience depending on their past walk-ins or purchases. So there is definitely a lot of potential there.
So you think that's it? It becomes a little bit more of a personalization. So is it inference where a good friend of mine who we share similarities, like I'm a Springsteen fan, I'm a baseball fan. So somehow my social graph and their social graph connect, and because somebody that's 9 people away from me bought this one product, does that get now elevated because of the fact that I like Springsteen and baseball? Is that where you're moving with this kind of stuff? So it's brand. Does it open up brands to people?
I mean, it's what I meant to say is that the fact that right now, let's say you walk into a store, or you are sitting in a stadium, or you're at a conference. You're not really using any of the information that you built on your social graph, on your interest graph online, and we think that there is a lot of opportunities that can be used if you can tie that information with what you're currently doing. So the purposes, the motive can be different, but just enabling this information to be used, it's going to be very, very interesting.
All right. So now, what about relationships themselves? So how do you think that this is going to have a difference? Do you think that we're going to be a bunch of people in a bar or in a hotel looking down at our phones while the whole world passes us by, and I'm gonna find somebody with similarities, and I'm gonna reach out to them, and we're gonna carry on an exchange only digitally? Or is this just the pre-conversation? Like, how is this going to work?
So I think it's really a pre-conversation, and actually it's amazing the fact that like how many people I talk to in person, face to face, thanks to Glancee. Glancee is not doesn't generate content. You're not on Glancee to consume the content that other people are not posting pictures, people are not writing messages on the wall. People are there because they're people. So by giving you this access to these people, then when you want to consume the content, you really have to send a message and actually meet in person. That's when you really get the most value out of our application. So I don't think you're going to see, of course, people looking at their device, but next thing you know, they're going to be talking to a person. So that's the magic behind it.
I like it. I mean, there are certain people that don't want to talk to people, and that's fine. They can still use Glancee to carry on a conversation and then take it somewhere else. But yeah, I hope that this creates more conversation, because there's similarities in the people and their likes and dislikes and familiarities.
Yeah, as I said before, many people are scared to talk to strangers, and even if they go to meetups or events where they know they go there and all the people there are interesting and they are there for the same reason, but still they find it hard to start a conversation. And we built Glancee to enable these people to actually talk to anyone.
All right, Alberto, last question. What gets you excited? So you're in the middle of this space. You are a guy who's taken an opportunity, a risk. What gets you excited about what in the mobile space? What do you look at and say, oh man, I wish I could do that, or I wish I did that? Is there something out there that is really motivating for you?
That's a tough question. I think we're seeing a lot of new apps. Well, we even call them with a different name. Once we were using the desktop, they were programs. Now that they're on a mobile device, we call them apps. It's it's a meaningful difference because it's really a shift in the paradigm that we're using computers. And more than a single app that I wish I would have done, I'm really excited by all the opportunities that this new medium is creating. Really, the internet is not anymore a place where you sit down at your desk and you connect to a remote computer. The internet is becoming something that you always carry in your pocket, and you can immediately be connected to anyone around you. And this is, I think, it's really amazing.
I mean, I think you just summarized it perfectly. Boy, does it ever get me excited to think about the opportunities that kind of creates. And it's not about two-way conversation, because we've got these things, right? We've got mouths and ears to do that. But it's the little intricacies in our lives that this enables. Paying for things, meeting old friends, sharing photos and videos, sharing location. And then interacting with brands that we love. I think that we're just at the beginning, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It all started with being able to make a phone call wherever you are, and now 5-10 years from now, I don't know what we're going to be able to do wherever we are.
Well, I hope you're involved in it somewhere, Alberto. This has been great. I really appreciate your time coming on here, enlightening us, talking very candidly about what you're doing with Glancee. I love the fact that mobile entrepreneurs seem to be very open about this, because I think it's wayfinding. We're trying to figure this out, as the industry is evolving. So I love that you've done this. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for your time.
So tell me, and tell everybody who's listening, where can they find information about you guys?
So the easiest way is, if you have an Android phone or an iPhone, you can just download our app. It's called Glancee, or you can find more information on glancee.com. And if you don't have a smartphone, we even developed a Facebook app. So if you are at school, if you're in a coffee shop with your laptop, you can just go inside your Facebook, go search for Glancee app, and then you can log in right there. And we use the location of your browser to show you people around you.
Smart. I didn't even ask, how big is your team?
We're actually only 3 people.
And are you funded? Is this just out of pocket?
Right now, it's out of pocket. We're bootstrapped. Man. Hopefully that will change soon.
Oh, well, then we'll follow up with you in the next little while. It's one of the things that I love to do is follow up in a quarter or two to find out what's going on inside of the company, how things have changed, how your initial ideas that we've talked about either are materializing or disappeared as a result of changes in what's going on in the industry. So if you don't mind, I'm going to call on you to follow up and see if we can get you back on here.
Anytime.
All right. I have been speaking with Alberto Tretti. Better? Better?
Perfect.
All right. He's the co-founder of a company called Glancee. Go to glancee.com, GLANCEE.com, do a search in the App Store or the Marketplace for Android. Do a search on Facebook. Start using this application. Support these guys, because they are changing the way that we create relationships. This is a social world that we're living in. Any advantage that we can have in order to be able to meet the right people, whether it's in business or personal, that's what these guys are doing. Very influential. I look forward to seeing how they progress over the next couple of months, and I'll have them back on when the time is right. Does that sound good, Alberto?
Perfect.
All right. I thank Alberto for doing this. Thank you so much, Alberto. Thank you guys for watching and listening, doing whatever it is that you're doing. Thank you so much for being a part of Untether. It means a lot. If you have any feedback, reach out at untether@gmail.com. Until next time, this has been an episode of Untether.tv. See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.